A very good afternoon to everyone. I am Dr. Veena Yardi from Department of Foods, Nutrition and Dietetics, College of Home Science, Nirali Niketan. On behalf of my department, I wish to extend a very warm welcome to each one of you to the fifth and the finale webinar in the series, in our first series, webinar series, E-Vikas, Tackling the New Normal in Foods, Nutrition and Dietetics. Friends, although this series is coming to an end today, very soon we are coming with yet another interesting series, and that is going to start from 9th of June. It is titled Nirmal Swasthya, a webinar series for nutritional and lifestyle empowerment. Details of the same will be circulated very soon. Friends, before we proceed further, I wish to take this opportunity to thank our beloved principal, Dr. Geeta Ibrahim, and members of management for their support and encouragement. I also wish to extend special thanks to our collaborators, Kellogg's Nutrition, for their collaboration with us. We will soon begin the session, but before that, let me give you a few instructions which probably by now are used to. First of all, I request everyone to kindly mute the videos and audios. Do not unmute yourself when the session is going on. Do not switch on your video when the session is going on. Thirdly, do not use pen which you see on your screen to scribble something knowingly or unknowingly. It may distract the speaker as well as the other participants. And fourth instruction is about questions. As this session is going on, many questions may come to your mind. We request you to kindly type those questions in the chat section, and those questions will be taken up later by the speaker and they will be answered. Now, we will very soon go to the session. Now, today's session is about setting up digital consultancy services. And this will be taken by our alumna and young entrepreneur, Nirali, Tanna. So let me introduce her formally now. Ms. Nirali Tanna has done her BSc in Foods, Nutrition and Dietetics and MSc in Foods Processing and Preservation from our own college, that is Nirali Niketan, College of Home Science, University of Mumbai. She has, after her post-graduation, she has worked in several organizations. To name a few, she has worked as a recipe developer for Tarla Dalal, worked in the space of sports and child nutrition with Cafe Nutrition. She worked as chief nutritionist and recipe developer at Hola Chef Hospitality Private Limited. She has worked as nutritionist at Self Care by Suman Agarwal. She has helped more than 500 individuals in various spheres of weight and health management, pregnancy and post-pregnancy diet management, and child nutrition. She is also an avid cook, and she loves to do a lot of innovative recipes which are based not only on the principles of nutrition but also of food science. She has conducted several cookery workshops as well. At present, she practices as nutritionist and lifestyle coach. She is founder and chief nutritionist at Map My Meals, which is her own company, which provides online personalized meal planning solutions and lifestyle coaching. Their aim is to help individuals bring about sustainable lifestyle changes to improve quality of life and teach them to make appropriate food and lifestyle choices. And of course, above all, Ms. Nirali Tanna is also a very well-known digital consultant in the field of nutrition. And that is the topic for today, that is setting up digital consultancy services. Ms. Nirali is going to tell us about what is digital consultancy. She is also going to tell us about what is difference between the online and digital consultancy, how to set up digital platform, what are the steps that are involved in conducting and setting digital consultancy. She is also going to talk about several apps and digital platforms, both basic and advanced, that are used while doing digital consultancy. And above all, what she's going to do, she's going to share many of the secrets to be a successful digital consultant. So we have a very apt person to conduct today's session. And so may I request now our today's resource person, Miss Nirali Tanna, to start her session. Miss Nirali.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. All right. So
Yes,
we're ready
you can
to go.
start.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thank you, ma'am, for the introduction. Hi, everyone. I'm really glad that so many of you have taken the time out to be here with us virtually on a Sunday to listen to everything that we have to say. And I'm sure a lot of you have been attending the webinar since the past 1 week. So it's lovely to see such great participation. So thank you again for coming in, and I hope you go out like once the session is over, you just go away with so much information that you can apply in your practice. Okay, so so I'm going to speak about online consultations and why it is the next thing that we should be looking at. 1 second. Okay, all right. So now a little bit about me. Of course, Veena Yadi ma'am has already introduced me, but a little bit about me is I have a work experience of more than 5 years, and I'm proud to be an alumni of Nirala Niketan. And I have to say that everything that I am today is because of everything that I learned and everything that with everything that we were like taught in the 5 years that I spent at Nirala Niketan. Uh, I've been consulting for last 5 years. I've worked in multiple spheres. In addition to counseling, cooking has always been a passion, because of which I've also worked in areas where I worked as a recipe developer, worked in development of products, setting up a tiffin service for healthy meals, etc. But 3 years back, I started my own company under the name of Map My Meals, where we provide personalized online consultations for anyone who is looking to make a lifestyle change in various spheres. It can be weight management, it can be someone who's looking to get help with their PCOD, diabetes, pregnancy, child nutrition, post-pregnancy weight loss, etc. So that's how what I've been doing full time for past 3 years, and I'm a big advocate of going digital. And let me tell you why. Okay, so why should we as nutritionists go online? I remember when I finished my education like good 6-7 years back. Like online consultations was never an option for us. I always imagined that if I would be consulting, I would be going to a clinic and seeing an X number of patients, and we would have like a certain kind of a setup, etc. But it is going online is very much an option right now. I mean, of course it is because of the COVID scenario that we are in, where social distancing is going to continue, has been happening for last 2 months and is going to continue for maybe another 6 months, who knows. So definitely, like they say, that any kind of crisis kind of accelerates the changes that might have happened in the future. I mean, you might have never thought that you would be doing digital consultations, but COVID has definitely brought us to that point. Apart from that, why should you go online? It offers a lot of convenience, not just to you as a professional, but also to everyone who is going to come to you for advice. Like for a lot of working professionals, it would be so much easier to take the consultation over a video call or over a Skype call. Or a voice call, or just through WhatsApp, for example, rather than traveling to the clinic which might be, at a distance. So definitely it offers the convenience not just to us, but also to the person you're going to help. It's definitely cost effective. Like imagine if you want to set up a space where you're going to have like two or three other people working with you. Imagine the kind of space you're going to need, the number of cabins, you will need a small pantry, you'll need a reception desk, etc., etc. Especially in a city like Mumbai, it's because that's where I practice, it's expensive to get a space to accommodate an X number of people. It also sometimes helps you save the cost of resources, because where you can function with lesser people, if you digitize things, it's definitely possible to function with lesser people. It also saves time and makes things quicker. Now I had to say this, that I have bought so much lesser stationery since I decided to go online. Like earlier I would give out printouts or diaries to my clients, and to make them fill up their daily recalls. But this has become like I've definitely stopped purchasing all of that, and I have been asking people to maintain their diet recalls online, and that has made a huge difference in terms of not just the cost but the way of functioning. It just makes things so much easier. Competition is huge. I mean, we are not just competing with the nutritionists in the same locality, but we are today also competing with platforms like Healthify Me, which offer a lot of services in terms of health, with apps like MyFitnessPal, where people can themselves go and like log in their meals, figure out their calorie intake, make the changes in their lifestyle themselves. So the competition is huge. So if you're not going to match up to something like Healthify Me and go digital, I think we're just going to go become redundant. Also, the endless possibilities that online consultations are going to offer. Like I realized this when I got my first client from Kunnur, who lives on a tea plantations and wanted to get onto a program with me for weight management. And I was surprised at that, because I always thought that no one lives in Kunnur. I think people just go as tourists. And and after that, I have got people joining our programs from places where I could have never imagined. And a lot of towns, I mean, in metro cities probably people have more options, but if you look at the smaller places, like for example a place like Kunur might not have so many dietitians, but people might still want to work on their health, right? So you cannot imagine the endless possibilities that going online can offer. uh, so hence I really vouch for it. uh, okay, now what's the difference between an online and an offline consultation? There is a lot of difference, and you will realize it once you start doing it. But to highlight a few, like imagine if someone is going to take a consultation from you face to face, all the trust building is going to happen easily. Imagine it's easier to accept payments when you're meeting the person. It's so much easier to explain things. Like when someone comes to a clinic, you can make them stand on a body composition analyzer and take their fat percentage and measure their visceral fat, etc., etc. But all of this is much more difficult when you're consulting online. So just imagine that how will you build trust with someone who's meeting you for the first time on a video call, and sometimes people don't even want to do a video call and is just going to speak to you over phone. And I mean, imagine the kind of trust that you will have to build in order to ask them to pay, for example, 10,000 rupees for a 3-month program with you, right? So it's much more difficult. Like accepting payments is going to be a different set of challenge, because it's not just easy कि बस पर्स में से पैसे निकाल के दे दिया and someone signs up for your program, right? So a lot of things are very different when you are consulting someone virtually and when you are meeting someone face to face and doing it. Okay, now first of all, how will you get someone to join a program with you in the first place, right? Especially whether it's an online or an offline program. I mean, this is a common problem for all of us, irrespective of whether we do this online or offline. Uh, Offline makes it a little more easier, because you'll always start with some X number of people who know you already, are going to come to you, maybe benefit and maybe refer you to some other people in the same locality, and maybe you're going to become really popular in that one demographic space. Uh, so that's one way people do it offline. But how would you do this online, right? So a lot of people who consult online always start offline, that they first start doing offline consultations, especially if you're a fresher. It really helps you get an understanding of how to go about doing things, what are the challenges that you're going to face when you're going to meet people, uh, and other things. So it's always great to start offline if you have an option. But let's say if you've already been consulting for an X amount of time, and now want to move online, uh, or also, for example, even if you're a fresher, it's not completely impossible to start online. It's just that starting offline somewhere gives you the little head start. Uh, so it's good to start offline, but it's not like it's completely impossible to start with consulting online from day one. Now, if you're going to consult online, it's going to be really important to build a certain digital presence. That would be as simple as creating an account on LinkedIn, having your personal page, having your profiles created on Facebook, Instagram. If you have a clinic set up, or a space where you consult, you can also put it on Google. So Google gives you an option of creating a business account where you can list yourself. And anyone who's looking for a nutritionist in a nearby area can find you. Uh, you can also go to the extent of creating your own website, writing blogs. So creating a digital presence is extremely important whenever you decide to consult online, because that's where the person is going to see you, right? Like, I have people on the program with me who's never met me personally. The only way they know how I look is because they have seen me on Facebook or Instagram. So this really helps a lot, and building a digital presence is extremely important, in order to develop credibility as a professional. When you go out there digitally and put your opinion out there, talk about yourself, that really helps to build credibility. In addition to creating your personal, in addition to doing Instagram and Facebook, the other way, one more thing that one can do is, there are a lot of platforms which allow you to list yourselves on those platforms as an expert. So, for example, Fraternity is one such platform that lets you list your service on their platform, where they help you, where they'll even market you to people to a certain extent. They will let you do some sessions for people, etc. And anyone who is on Fraternity and is looking for a nutritionist might find you in the list, and if you have good reviews to support that, maybe they will, or maybe they just like a profile and they would just give you a call and maybe take a consultation. Similarly, there's one more app called Born Happity, which lets you list yourself as an expert, and someone can enroll for a consultation with you through the app, where it just works as that mediator to connect you to people who are looking to get help in terms of their health. A lot of these platforms also let you voice out their opinion. Like, they have these communities where you can be a part of and give advice or talk about things. Being on a lot of these platforms might be a great starting point for a lot of us to get an idea about how consulting online works. Even Practo and Librate let you list yourself on their platforms, but a lot of their services are also paid. So I've always found the first two being better, but of course, I mean, it's up to an individual in terms of what they want to explore and how they want to grow. So these are some great options. Now let's talk about getting started. Now, how would you get started? So let's say someone finds you online, finds you listed somewhere online, and is going to call you or drop you a message or send you an email, uh, and going to inquire, in terms of what is it that you give, and this is what I'm looking for. So there would always be an introductory conversation with someone who inquires with you, which would be like able to understand what you do as a professional and what they are looking for. Now, this can either happen over a phone call. This can happen over someone dropping you a message on WhatsApp if you have your number listed somewhere. This can be through a person dropping an email ID. Let's say a person comes from some other reference, then they might already know certain things about you. Like if I'm referring a friend to a doctor, then I've already told her that, I think the doctor is really good, and he's really genuine, and etc., etc., and this is what he charges. But for example, if someone is coming to you from a completely unknown reference and without any prior understanding of what you do, then that introductory conversation, whether it happens over a phone call, messaging, or email, has to be clear in terms of understanding what the person is looking for. Can you help them with that problem? If yes, then what would you would give them like a basic idea about, like, this is what we can do for you, this is what we can do for you, this is the kind of service we provide, and also giving them a little bit of idea about what you charge, because that just helps get that basic expectation setting done right. Now, this can be communicated, like I said, either over a phone call or over a WhatsApp message or over an email, because a lot of people might not want to call you and ask all of this, because like a lot of times I get messages on my WhatsApp saying that I just want to know what you charge, okay, because probably they've already been following me somewhere else and they know kind of what I do, so they just want to understand the charges. So it's really important that in that introductory conversation that you have with anyone who shows interest in getting onto a service gets a little bit highlight of everything that they should be knowing before they enroll with anyone for anything. Okay. Now, let's say that the person has already spoken to you, is very happy with everything that you've told them, and is looking to join a plan. And the person says, yes, like, I want to enroll with you, or I want to get like a one-time consultation with you, and now help me further. So the first thing that you need to do is acquire information about the person. It's more like how a person comes into a clinic and then you ask them to, take all the basic details. Now, all of this has to happen online. Now, one way to do this could be that you could call the person and spend that half an hour speaking to that person, or go on a video call with that person and spend that half an hour, 30 minutes getting all the information and writing it down or putting on your laptop. But one way of saving time is to send them a form that they can fill up before you take this further, so that whenever you go on a proper call with them, you already have some information about them that is going to give you like a head start in terms of understanding what the person is already doing and how you need to help them. So acquiring this information is extremely important. You can send a form to a person on email. You can either create like a Word document and send it to the person, where the person will download it, fill it up, upload it, and send it back over email. Or one very easy way to do is to create forms online. Like a lot of platforms let you create these forms online, which can be shared further to others in the form of a link. Like one very simple platform is Google Forms. So you can create a Google form, and when you create a form, it gives you a link that you can share to people, and people can just go on that link and fill it up. Google Form being one such, there are multiple other platforms that let you do it. There is something called as paper form, there is something called as jot form, there is something called as type form. uh, all of these platforms give you that service of creating a form, and that form comes with a link, and that's the one link that you share it with everyone who fills it up, everyone you want the person to everyone who needs to fill up that form. And that information, so the benefit of using a Google form is that, for example, if you send the link to someone and the person fills it up, Google itself sends you an email that an XYZ person has already filled up the form, and all the data goes to an Excel sheet which is actually saved on your drive. This makes the process of acquiring and keeping the record of that person extremely simple. There are some other platforms, like I spoke about, a paper form, type form, jot form. Some of them also allow you to accept payments, where where the form where someone can fill up the form and also make a payment through them. not all of these services are free. Like Google Form is free, but not everything out there is free. Some of them are also chargeable, but I mean, you can pick the one that you need depending upon what you want to do. This is like a personal choice. Now, once you have all of this information, confirming this information is supremely important, because there are a lot of things which people will not tell you. Okay, like there are times where a lot of people think that that mentioning BP or diabetes in family history is not important. A lot of people think it's not a disease. A lot of people think that multivitamin is not a medicine that I am taking, that I should inform someone about. They think vitamin D to sab lete hai, isme kya batana hota hai, things like that. A lot of times you will receive forms where like once I received this form where a person said that for lunch I eat my lunch at 1:30, a plate full, and I eat it on my dining table. Now this was not sufficient recall for me, because I wanted to know what the person was eating in his lunch, but what he told me was completely different. So there are a lot of things that patient will not tell you. So once you receive the form, confirming the information that the person has given you is supremely important. I usually end up doing this by going on a call after receiving the form to get all the other information that the person might not have told you, which I think is a great way to do it, because it just helps understand a lot of things better, which might not always be possible to collect through messaging or emailing or forms, etc. Also, there are a lot of challenges that you will face with certain age groups. Like a lot of older individuals do not use emails. I know I do also meet a lot of people who don't have active email IDs. Like if you ask them for their email ID, they'll give you their husband's email ID or their son's email ID, etc. So these might be some challenges. That's why offering a user friendly option, like sending the same thing that you can send on an email on WhatsApp also, or through an SMS also, really helps with a certain people who are not very email friendly as yet. Also, the form that you send to the person has to be very user friendly and crisp. Like you can't send across things like give me your diet recall and then just a blank, like fill it up yourself. It has to be like, it has to be in the form of checklist. It has to be in the form of drop boxes. Like if someone has to enlist the diseases that they have, or if they want to, then it should be in the form of a checklist where you're asking them to pick from PCOD, diabetes, etc., etc. It should also have an option of none of the above or anything else, because you might not be able to include anything. Like I have a patient who has something called as ankylosing spondylitis. Now, this is not a very common condition. So this cannot be included in the list of diseases when you send the form, but this can be mentioned as any of. Do you like? There can be like something below the form which says that anything else, like apart from this, if there's anything else, and the person can mention it there. So it has to be user friendly. The forms cannot be like where you're spending too much time typing out information. So please ensure that it's as easy for the person to fill it up, because if the more difficult it is and the lesser user friendly it is, the later you will get the reply from the person, and maybe the person will even forget about it and just not do it. Okay. So now, once we've spoken about acquiring information, let's look at what are the things that should be there in your form, and everything that your form should capture. Like contact details, like email IDs, number, address. Sometimes you can also ask people about whether they are on social media, and if they are on Instagram, Facebook, what is the name under which they are there. So probably you can follow them, or you can ask them to follow you back on digital platforms. This really helps. Everything about a person, like their profession, if a person is employed or not employed, uh, uh, things like if they have any allergies, intolerances, vital stats of vital stats, weight. Now body composition is something that is difficult to get a person to do when someone is on an online program. So a lot of people have this facility if they're already going to a gym, then they do have access to body composition analyzers. I also know some people who buy them for themselves, because some of them available are not very expensive. Like body composition analyzers or fat analyzers start anywhere from 4,000 onwards, where you would get something of a decent quality. And accuracy. So a lot of people already have them, but let's say if they do not have them, then I usually ask people to do their body measurements in order to get a rough idea about how their body composition is changing over a period of time. Now a lot of people don't know how to do their body measurements. Like, there have been times when I have asked someone to do their body measurements and they have gone to their tailor to get it done. Now the way the tailor is going to do it is not how you want it. So it's always great to explain the person how to do body measurements. You can send them like detailed instructions on how to do them. You can create a video tutorial on how to do them. uh, I mean, you can just communicate it the way you would like to, but there has to be specific instructions given to the person on how one is supposed to measure. Blood parameters are extremely important to know. Most individuals these days get like an annual health checkup done. So most people would have like a blood report that they would have done in the last 2 years. It's great to get that information, even if the person does not come with a history of diseases. It's great to ask them to sometimes get their blood parameters done, because a lot of them have deficiencies that they are not aware of, which sometimes need to be corrected. uh, uh, Dietary recalls, it's extremely important to get the recalls correctly. Now it's usually difficult to ask a person to, like, we usually were taught that when you take dietary recalls, you have to take weekend ka alag se and weekday ka alag se, because what a person is eating on the weekend is not same as what the person is eating on a weekday. Now I usually find it very difficult for people to write these 2-3 different days ka recalls. Like, taking a 3-day dietary recall is usually difficult when you are sending them a form online, because they're anyways impatient to finish it off. No one will fill it up for 3 days. Uh, but getting this information through by using a crisp form or by a follow-up call where you clarify things is extremely important. It's extremely, what you ask in an online consultation is going to determine your understanding of the patient, because you can't see them. A lot of times you can't see them. Even if you can see them, asking the right questions is extremely important. Like, going to the extent of asking what milk is being used, because it can be buffalo, cows, almond, goat milk, whatever. It's really important to ask questions like I go to the extent of asking how big their chapatis are, or if they have a poha, it's a cup full, it's a katori, it's a soup bowl full. uh, Asking questions like if someone eats out, then how often and what. Asking questions like, if you drink, then how many drinks would you do at a given point of time, or what would you mix your drinks with, because a lot of these things determine what a person is eating. Like, just asking do you eat out is not important, not enough. I mean, asking how much, how many times is important, because a lot of people would be eating out on daily basis, and you would be really surprised with what people tell you if you ask the right questions. So getting detailed dietary recalls is extremely important. It's really important to understand the health status of the person. uh, uh, like, sometimes people will not tell you immediately if they have something like a gas, or if they have acidity, or if they have constipation, because that's not considered as a health condition. But we can work on these issues as nutritionists. Like, a lot of people will not tell you that B12 is not considered as a medicine. And someone is taking thyroid medicines, they will not tell you. So a lot of these people who take a lot of medicines on regular basis will not tell you about these medications. So getting this information is extremely important. Asking about allergies, intolerances. Some people are allergic to some foods. Some people are allergic to certain medicines. Gluten and lactose intolerance has also become quite important. So getting that information is important. Exercise. A lot of people think if they're walking, then that it's not an exercise. Exercise has to be if they are doing something physical. Like, if they're squatting, then it's exercise. If they're lunging, then it's exercise. So uh, it's really important to understand if the person is exercising, then what. Like, if a person is walking on the treadmill for 1 hour, then what is the speed at which they are walking? Are they doing this on an inclination, etc.? Because otherwise you will not get an idea about what is the intensity of the person doing an X amount of thing. Because a lot of people think that even 30 minutes of walk means like, I am done for the day and I have done so much exercise that I'm going to lose like 5 kgs straight, but which is not true. So always cross check, always cross question in order to get more information. It's also important to ask preferences, whether someone is, when I say preferences, I mean what they like, what they don't like, because no one will do things if you give them something if they don't like. Also, it's our job to make the person change certain things, but it's also important to know what they like or they don't like. Preferences, whether someone is a vegetarian, non-vegetarian, eggetarian, vegan, or a gen. uh, these things again need to be clarified either through the form that you send or when you do the follow-up call to get more information. uh, Now let's say once a person comes to you, has inquired, has already spoken to you, you've already taken all the basic details, and the person has decided that now I want to take up a consultation with you, or I want to get onto a month's program with you. Then the next step is collecting payments. Now usually this would happen if a person was coming to meet you, then this would then they would just pay up upfront and go away. But when you are doing this online, that's not what is going to happen. So I always advise everyone that you always ask the person to make the payment before you send them their first plan or whatever, because it's very difficult to go behind people tracking payments in terms of who's made the payment, who's not made the payment. Also, I think as a professional, we should be doing this. I mean, don't we go to a doctor and pay up for the consultation before he writes us a prescription? So I think similarly, if you're ever practicing online, it's always a great idea to collect the payment in advance uh, rather than keep it pending. A lot of people will also ask you that, can you give me an EMI option? Can I pay it in installments? Now, this is a personal choice in terms of what you want to offer as a service to your clients. So, but it's always good to get the person to make the payment in advance instead of you sending the plan and then asking for it, because there's no way you're going to be able to track that person once you send the plan to them and they start. Okay, now how can you collect payments? It's always good to offer multiple options. Bank transfers are the most common because a lot of people these days don't even get their salaries in cash, so they will be more than happy to do a bank transfer. So bank transfers are a great choice. Apart from that, there are multiple wallets that let you make payment. A lot of people find it easier to pay through a Paytm or a phone pay. UPI is a great choice. I mean, if you can give someone an option of Google Pay, it's lovely because it just happens at the click of a button. So if you're consulting internationally and if you have clients who want to get onto a program with you internationally, then offering there are different payment gateways. One of them is InstaMojo, which helps you to get the payment of someone from anywhere, where you can again send a link to the person goes to that link and then gets the option of paying through either debit card, credit card, etc., etc. So these payment gateways are lovely to use. Again, InstaMojo is not something that is free. It is chargeable, where they charge an X amount of commission on each transaction you do. But I mean, if it gives you that ease, then you might look at using it. Absolutely. Something like PayPal has also started giving people options of taking payments internationally. So use the payment option which you think is more suitable for you and for the kind of people you're dealing with. Okay, now let's look at what would go into creating the plan. Let's say the person has already signed up for a program and now you need to work on making a plan for that person. Let's say if you have to do a calorie calculation. Now, we were always taught to do calorie calculations manually. We were given these exchange lists and usme se acha itne cereal and itne pulses. But I think using Excel sheets is great if you're wanting to do calorie calculations. It's just happens so quick that you can't even imagine. There are a lot of softwares which you can use, like DietSoft and Nutrium are two such softwares which let you do a calorie calculation on the platform. These two softwares also offer the ease where you can maintain all the client data as well on their platform, where you can schedule and put appointments there on the platform. You can also send notifications to your clients using these platforms. So these could also be options. Now, what all should your plans include? Now, in order to make this a little easier to understand, what I'm going to do is I'm going to share a sample diet plan so that you get an idea about what all should your plan include. One second. Okay. All right. Now, this is something that I send. So I'm like just sharing something that I send so that you get an idea about what all should your plan include. So your plan should definitely include the name, the date, what is the plan for? Is it for weight loss? Is it for health management? Is it for diabetic control? Is it for pregnancy, etc.? It's always good to exercise, mention how many times you want the person to exercise. What is it that you would want to do? Sometimes if it's walking, then the person knows how to do it. But if, let's say, in current scenarios in COVID, when people can't go outside, like I've been recommending a lot of home workout videos to people, which they have been doing. So if you want the person to do a home workout video, it's also important to share a link supporting this, which they can open up later and see what it is and do it. If you're recommending any body weight exercises, it's good to tell them how many reps they should do it for. It's important. Again, you can supplement this with a video where a person gets to understand if they are doing it in the right form. It has to be a detailed plan in terms of what you give the person, in terms of what meals, what timings, the kind of portion sizes. I go to the extent of mentioning the size of the roti or the amount of dal. This just, like, for me, this really helps because it helps to bring in a little bit consistency in the way the person is eating, because there is a good chance that when a person is coming to you, they are not eating as per what they need. They are eating as per what they want. So I personally like to go to like great detail, but this is again a personal choice. But just sharing a reference in terms of what is it that you would like to tell your client through the plan, because it's an online program, it's really good, which I think is good to go into details, because it really helps the person understand what and why they are being asked to do something like that. Like I usually would go to the extent of mentioning some guidelines about diseases. I would tell them what fruits they are allowed. I would give them guidelines about what amount of water they are supposed to drink, what is the kind of oil that they should be using, how much oil they should be using, if they need to take supplements, and which are the supplements that they can take, uh, what is it that they're already taking, so that I also have it here, so that I also understand when I open their plan. I also know that Acha, these are the supplements they're already taking, which has been advised by the doctor. These are the 2 supplements that I have suggested, for example. So always ensure that the plan is quite detailed, uh, at the same time easy to understand for the person. uh, Okay, so just to go through this again, uh, assume nothing, mention everything about portion sizes, the exercise guidelines, notes about water intake, oil intake, eating out guidelines. How will you share this with the person? It's good to share it through email. If you're using an app, then the app will also give you the option of uploading the plan on the app, and the person can look at it on the app. Some people like to have their plans on phone, so they might request that, can you just WhatsApp it to me or something like that. So how you share the plan, again, this can be asked to the person in terms of how they would want to be able to access it, so that it just helps them better. Now, the first plan that you send is always a foundation in terms of what you're starting the person off with and how much they're going to do out of that. Because whenever you're going to do a follow-up consultation, you will be able to understand what is it that a person has done. So the first plan has to be detailed and should have all the information that a person needs in order to follow something that you're advising. Okay. Now, sample diet plan, I already shared one. Okay. Now, next thing. Now, let's say once the person gets started off with the plan, how are you going to monitor them and ensure that they get the result that they have joined you for? It's always good to make the person understand initially only that expectations have to be realistic. Like, for example, if someone is looking to lose weight, then they need to be told that a realistic weight loss is anywhere between 7 to 10 kgs in 3 months. Or probably this is what you would achieve out of what we are suggesting. Like a lot of times people, when they inquire itself, would say that what is the program I should take, because maybe I want to achieve this. Will it be possible to achieve it in this much amount of time? So I always like to set the expectations very clear, that this is what is sustainable, this is what is achievable. And sometimes it's also good to tell the person that see, there are sometimes that you might not get anything out of this. Let's say you're looking to lose weight. Like, I would say, to be honest, in the last 3 years of my practice, I have met at least 3 individuals who joined the program and for weight loss, let's say, but didn't lose any weight. But through the program, we tried our best to help them. And if someone asks me, that do all your clients lose weight, I would tell them very honestly upfront that, see, yes, most of them have. And let's say if someone wanted to lose 10 kgs, but maybe they lost 7, or maybe someone was looking at a blood glucose levels of 6, but maybe they stopped their program at 6.5, but they did achieve something out of it. And that's what your goal should be as a professional, that anyone who signs up with you for a consultation goes out with some benefit, are going to go out with some lifestyle changes that they're going to continue for the rest of their life and make it a part of their daily routine. It's also good to set long-term goals, that let's say if someone signs up for a 2-month program, then you tell them that in 2 months, this is what we're looking to achieve. I'm wanting that your HbA1c should drop by 1 point, which is possible to do. I'm wanting that you build more stamina through the program, and maybe we take you from walking for an hour to doing a walk and jog. So it's always good to set long-term and realistic goals. Ensuring compliance is extremely important. Uh, uh, One thing that we're often taught to do is to ask the person to make a diet diary. Okay. Now, when someone is on an online program, they would do this digitally. Some ways of doing it is you share an Excel sheet and you ask the person to fill it up at regular intervals of time. If you're using an app, then a lot of individuals can log in their meals in that app, and you can view it from the back end and check in terms of what the person is doing. Uh, Sometimes there are a lot of individuals who also ask people to maintain these recalls in the note section of their phone and send it to you over WhatsApp or something, because it just but whatever option you give the person to maintain their recalls has to be something which is easy for them to do, because otherwise they're definitely not going to do it. Regular follow-ups are extremely important. Now, this follow-ups can depend upon how you want to function, whether you want to meet someone or speak to someone once a week, once in 2 weeks, once in a month. Also, the number of follow-ups and the frequency of follow-ups will be depending upon what is it that the person is coming to you for. Like, for example, if a person is coming to you for health management and wants to just bring down their blood sugar levels, then maybe they don't need a weekly consultation, because it's not like the sugars are just going to change overnight, right? So if you're meeting a child for a child nutrition plan, then definitely the child is going to need more time in order to incorporate those changes in their the mother is going to take that much time to incorporate changes in the child's routine. So then maybe doing a weekly consultation might not really make sense. So this is again completely personal, and depends on what you how you want to set up your practice, and also depends upon what is the person coming to you for. Okay. Now, let's look at, we are all set in terms of, we know how to get a patient, how to consult them online, and how to get them results. Now, after this comes, how will you grow your practice? Now, one short, tried and tested method that any professional will tell you about is patient-to-patient referrals. I think this forms the major chunk of your business that you get initially, because it's these patients who put the trust in you and get good results will go and refer you to other people. Other way of doing it uh, is if you put up other way of developing credibility in terms of getting someone to join a program with you, is if you would request anyone who's already been on a program with you to write your feedback. This can be an online testimonial where someone can come and look at your profile and then look at your ratings and reviews and take up and give you a call. This can also happen through post-program engagement. A lot of times when someone is on the program with you, you already have their data in terms of probably they're already following you on Instagram, or if they're already following you on LinkedIn, or you have their numbers. And post-program engagement would be to get those people to be a part of your community, even post they have finished the program. Like, a lot of people also have these Facebook groups where they ask everyone who's been on a program to join them, and they keep like doing regular engagement activities on these groups, so that it creates a recall value. post-program engagement could also be achieved through email marketing, through WhatsApp marketing, sending out bulk SMSs. These are some ways to ensure that someone who's joined a program with you once or has met you once and is happy with your service would come back to you if they are constantly reminded about you at regular intervals of times in multiple ways. Okay. Now, what are the other important things that we should know about going digital? Okay, now using technology is going to really help you. I mean, of course, it's very easy to do an online consultation through SMS, WhatsApp, email, save all your content on Google Drive. But if you are someone who's looking to grow your practice to a huge extent and consult people all across the world and consult at least 500 patients every year, then using a platform would be more advanced. It would give you the kind of help that you would need in terms of patient management. A couple of platforms that I have listed here are NutriAdmin. ZestMD is another platform that lets you do online consultations. Appointment Plus helps you maintain your appointments. Practo is another platform which helps you put in where you can put in your appointments, and the Practo will send an SMS to the person one day prior or on the same day, saying that, today you are scheduled to have a consultation with your dietitian at this point of time, for example. So it's lovely to take help of these platforms, because it just makes life much more easier when you have more than an X number of patients. It's difficult to do all of it very manually. Also, just like how you would be consulting online, you would have to, like, if you're consulting offline and someone is supposed to come to the clinic, you need to send them a reminder to remind them कि कल appointment है, please आना. Similarly, even if someone is on an online program with you, informing the person and reminding them that, okay, tomorrow is going to be your consultation and we have scheduled a call with you at 7 p.m. Please be available, is important to do these things. So a lot of these platforms help you get that ease that one would need to go digital. And if there is technology, shouldn't we all be using it? A lot of people take this one step further by creating their own app, their own platform, which they can ask the person to download. And a lot of things happen through that you have, like, let's say if I run my service under the Map My Meals, then I have a Map My Meals app, and every person who comes to me needs to download the app, needs to log in all their meals on that app. We have a chat bot on the app, so if you want to tell them something, we just send them a message on the chat bot and they receive it, or we just remind them that this is where your next appointment is going to be, or we remind them that you've not drank enough water every day, or you've just missed your protein in the day. So that would be taking this thing a one step further, where probably if you're looking to spend more money, then getting your own app made is great, which would be of great use for people to use when they get onto a program with you. Okay. Other thing is, it's really important to define your target audience. Now, one thing is set, that anyone who is going to join an online program is going to be little tech savvy. Like, for example, my mother would probably not look for a dietitian on Google, but my brother or my husband would. And so anyone who's going to be okay with joining an online program is already going to be someone who's going to be a little tech savvy, and they know to use some basic things. Of course, the kind of target audience for your practice also depends upon what you are an expert at and what are your interests. Like, if I want to do diabetes management and that's my interest and that's how I am building my credibility in terms of if I'm putting out content on Instagram, then I'm talking about myself as an expert who's into diabetes management and is really good at it. So your target audience will depend upon what you build about yourself as a brand, what image you portray about yourself out there. At the same, so it depends upon, so what you are good at and what interests you is going to define your target audience. You can pick a niche. I mean, there are some people who do just kids nutrition, there are some people who do just sports nutrition, there are some who do just weight loss, or there are apps which just help you with diabetes management. So you can definitely pick a niche and pick a target audience which you think you are most comfortable doing. So that's about defining your target audience. Uh, Also, it's really important to price yourself very carefully, because like I mentioned, the competition is huge out there. I mean, you might be competing with something like Healthy Family, which charges like 999 or 299 for a 3-month program. At the same time, you are competing with someone like celebrity nutritionist like a Luke Coutinho or a Rujuta Divekar, whose program started like 1 lakh rupees for 3 months, which is a lot of money. So how you price yourself is very important in terms of what is the kind of business that you're looking at. If you are someone who has a niche in a certain area, you have to price yourself a certain way. You will also find dietitians who charge like 100 rupees for a diet plan, uh, and they do well as well. So how you price yourself is going to be a huge choice that you need to make. Though when I started my practice, I clearly remember that I was told by one of my teachers that, you should not charge less than 500 rupees, because that is what everyone can pay in a city like Mumbai. And I think I really stuck to that advice. But again, how my prices have changed post that has been a personal choice, has been an observation based on what I'm seeing people are more okay to pay, or how much I'm seeing is like, for me, a sweet spot is always where you don't have to convince someone to take a program with you. It's just about, you tell them that, this is what we do, this is what we help you with, these are our charges, and the person would just be like, हाँ ठीक है, ये ले लेते हैं. So ideally, I think you should price yourself in such a manner that a person doesn't think twice for paying up for it. But then, of course, like I said, it's a personal choice. If you want to be someone who just wants to look at a certain kind of clientele, then you could also, I mean, there's no limit. I mean, it's a personal choice. You could pick what you think you deserve to get. All right. Word of caution, it's going to be difficult. A lot of times when you're consulting online, patients don't understand that there is like a line, that needs to be drawn in terms of a personal and a professional relationship. Like, if you are consulting someone offline, then they would not just call you randomly at any given point of time. But when you're consulting online, people think you are available 24/7, 365 days, for example. So it's difficult to establish that line where the person understands that, yes, I am here to help you as a professional, but these are some boundaries. It's important to have like a set of policies that you set up for yourself as a practitioner. One also has to improve and evolve constantly. The space of nutrition is immensely evolving. It's changing on daily basis, where new research comes out every single day. It's important that you upgrade yourself. It's important that all the information and opinions that you put out there are credible, science backed, cannot be just anything. You also have to evolve yourself on the digital fronts. Like, probably we were not using WhatsApp very frequently 10 years back, but today we are, and it's going to be something else after next 10 years. So it's really important that you evolve as a professional also in the space of if you are into digital consultations, then you need to evolve and keep changing the technology that you use eventually. uh, Okay. Patients will eat up if you let them. This is something I genuinely wanted to say, because like I said, you would not want people going to a restaurant and sitting on the table and then calling you up to ask that, I am at Yoko Sizzlers and what is the sizzler that I should eat. Okay. So you do not entertain these things. Of course, it's your duty as a professional to help the person understand how they are supposed to make these choices. But at the same time, like I said, it's important to have like a set of rules and policies that you put out there as a professional, uh, in order to safeguard your interests. uh, okay, so I think that brings me to the end of my session, and we would throw the forum open for questions if anyone has something that they would like to know.
Okay, thank you very much, Nirali. You have really explained this very, very challenging topic very well, all the various stages and steps. And I think you have shared your the secrets also very well, what we should do, what we should not do. So I think, and many youngsters have got motivated. There are several questions have come where they are asking how we should start, as a student, what we should do so that, we can go into online consultancy. So I'll take some few questions, and then if you can answer in brief,
Sure.
then we can cover more questions.
Sure.
So first of all, I want to ask you, this question is based on client winning and client retention. As a digital consultant, do you face any challenge in retaining your clients and getting new clients, especially when there is so much of competition? So how do you ensure that your client doesn't go to somebody else?
So I think I accepted the fact that so a lot of clients who come to me also come from someone else, right? So अपने patients भी किसी और के पास जाएंगे. It's a good possibility that it is going to happen. So when I say it's really difficult to retain clients, and I think the only way possible is to give at least an above average service, and to ensure that the person gets the result that they are looking at achieving. See, it's like if you don't we always go to a doctor that we trust. So I think it's about building that trust and credibility that you can retain a person with you, and that a person keeps coming to you eventually and keeps referring you to everyone he knows. But it's a challenge, and I think deep down everyone has to accept that थोड़े बहुत तो जाएंगे कहीं और, कोई बात नहीं.
Okay.
I think it's really okay to accept that and still be happy that you can, even if you can retain 50% or 50% is a big number. Even if you can retain that much, it's lovely. But I think the only way to do it is just being nice, giving an above average service, and ensuring that the people get results and they know that it was an honest attempt of helping someone. Like if someone doesn't find you genuine, no, they are definitely going to run away.
Yes.
So that's my feedback.
Nirali, will you stop sharing the screen? So
I will, yes.
Then there's a question whether when you do this kind of consultancy, is RD or any qualification or any legal things are required when you start consulting?
So requirements, yes, you need an education in nutrition. You can't just do I'm genuinely not in favor of people who do like a 3-month diploma and start consulting, because we put in so much of effort. Ideally, you should at least be a graduate in nutrition and dietetics. I mean, that's, I think, the bare minimum that you require to consult anywhere. I mean, see, even if you do a diploma and you start consulting, you will get patients. I'm sure there are people who don't care about a person's education, but I think if you take that effort of pursuing at least a graduation, if not a master's, you will be able to help someone better. So it's not from what is allowed, it's about how ethical you want to be in your practice.
Okay, there's one interesting question. See, for online working consultancy, there are no fixed timings. So have you faced any problem that, all the time you're doing online consultancy, and the question is asked that whether it affects your mental health? And how do you manage your work-life balance?
So this is a huge problem. I mean it when I say that there are people who go to restaurants and sit on the table and call you that what should I eat now. So that's a huge problem. And maybe when I started my practice, the first 1 year, I probably slogged my ass out, and I didn't realize that, I was making this mistake by being available all the time. But I would say in the last 1 year, I have that's what I say, setting a set of rules is important. Like I tell everyone who joins the program henceforth that I am available from Monday to Saturday. These are the timings in which I am available. If you call me at odd hours, you will not receive a reply from us, because things will happen where someone will call you at 7 a.m. in the morning because someone has come to collect their blood samples, and that's when they want to ask, मैं कौन सा blood test कराऊं? मतलब आपने blood test 2 दिन पहले book किया था ना, तभी समझ में नहीं आया कि क्या कराऊं. So it's really important to have certain policies. It's really important to tell the person in advance that this is when we are available, and you will not receive a reply from us on Sunday. So these are the policies that you set yourself. Otherwise, you will go mad. I am sure you will go mad. So okay, please do that.
Question. Thanks, Nirali. What digital medium can be used to market yourself?
So all of these, setting up a website helps, writing blogs help, Facebook, Instagram are lovely. Instagram is definitely better than Facebook currently. LinkedIn is a great profile if you want to put yourself out there. LinkedIn is a great profile for someone who's looking at doing corporate nutrition, because like if an HR of an MNC is looking for a nutritionist to do a session, they will not find you on Instagram, they'll find you on LinkedIn, for example. So these are great platforms that you can use.
A question is there that which software do you suggest for meal planning or which one you are using for diet plan and all?
So I am not using any currently, to be honest. I am myself doing the SMS, email, Google Drive thing, but I wish to switch to one. So I am also in the process of figuring out what works best for me. So I have not yet figured out what is like a suitable software, but I think this is a very personal choice in terms of what you use. Like I've tried multiple earlier and they have not worked for me. So I'm not using anyone currently, but yeah, I think it's a personal choice.
Many have asked question about, this assessment, body measurements, which you did mention, but they are saying that how you can ensure, because they are telling you some measurements, but then what equipments are different. So how do you go about it? What is your take on that?
So everyone has to have a digital scale if they need to be on a weight management plan, because like a manual scale is not good enough. They need to have a decent measuring tape, like a basic measuring tape. If you send them instructions on how to do them, the error is not too much. Like I've seen maybe sometimes when I take measurements and someone else does of the same person, there is a difference of maybe 10% error, which I think is okay, because you still get to understand what a person achieves over a period of time. So I think it's okay, but it's definitely important to send instructions. Like whether you say give verbal instructions, you write it down, or you send like I think the best thing would be to send like a video tutorial on how to do it. I think that's maybe a great way to do it. So, but it's possible to communicate. It's really possible to communicate.
And there's another question: how do you ensure compliance, whatever dietary recommendations you make?
So compliance. So that's why writing down dietary recalls really helps, because when a person is writing it down, that itself brings in accountability. So asking the person to do that initially for the first couple of weeks is really important. Apart from that, what I like to do personally is to follow up with that person at least once a week in order to ensure if they're doing it. Just that message, hi, I hope you're doing everything well, helps. So that's one way of doing it. But I have also noticed that when people do online programs, they are generally more compliant than when they come and meet you in the clinic. That is my understanding, that my online digital patients always do better and they are more motivated. So I think little bit of being strict and little bit of following up from your end is enough to get compliance.
There's a question on, do you face any difficulty with less educated clients?
There is sometimes a difficulty, because sometimes English is not good enough as a mode of communication. You have to move to something more regional. So there is, but ऐसा नहीं है किसी को नहीं समझा सकते. It's not impossible. Probably it takes more time to explain someone who is not very keen with things, but it's not like नहीं समझा सकते. Like even if you have to explain things in Hindi, it's not impossible to explain. So difficulty, yes, not impossible. Again, you need to be patient.
Thank you. How do you manage cash flow and margin of profit?
So cash flow and margin of profit. So, okay. Now, margin of profit is huge in service business. Anyone who's done service business will know that that margin of profit is much more than it would be when you are manufacturing something. So, I mean, what do I say in terms of managing it? I mean, cash flow, मतलब जितने पैसे आएंगे आपको उसका क्या करना है वो आपको decide करना है. Please income tax भरना. Don't not show your income. Also, I mean, one way is if you make any kind of money, you should figure out way in which how you will make your money multiply, because your business should not be limited to just the number of patients you get. Like currently in COVID, I'm sure a lot of businesses have been struggling. So one important tip I want to give is that, which is something I learned from someone and that has really helped me, is that if you're running a business, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि you're like from mouth, कि आज जो पैसे आए वो खर्चा हो गए. Every business should have at least 3 to 6 months worth of capital in their accounts. Even if you don't get any new patients for next 6 months, you should be able to sustain. And so that's one thing I want to say. Apart from that, figure out ways to make money apart from getting clients also, because that's also a great avenue which a lot of nutritionists don't look at. So that's what I want to say.
What exercise do you suggest for obese and elderly, and how do you explain to them online?
So I usually like to start everyone with walking because that's something everyone is able to do. If someone is really old, like a lot of people, a lot of times you'll meet patients who are arthritic, are immobile. So then we really start them off with just be active at home. Where you of course use more of diet and less of exercise, but eventually the idea is also to get them more active. And I think the idea is to start with something very basic and then you build onto it. Like if someone is able to walk for 30 minutes, then you push to 45, then you push to 60. If someone is doing great with a 60-minute walk, you can introduce jogging. So also sometimes you'll meet a lot of people who are interested in doing more exercise. So आपको push नहीं करना पड़ेगा. But with elderly, the trick is to start with minimum and then build onto it, depending upon what they're able to do.
Yeah, thank you. There are many students who are watching today's program and they have asked, as a student, what should we do so that we become good consultant or we get a job as a consultant in some company?
So first of all, pursue your education well. Apart from that, explore more opportunities. I mean, the first 5 years of your career are when you get to try new things, and take things which interest you. If you take things which will interest you, like I never thought I would do counseling, but the only reason I'm doing it is because I really enjoy being around people. So pick up something that really interests you, and you will always do well if you do something that interests you.
There are just 2-3 more we'll take. What are your views on the changing landscape of digital consultancy in this COVID pandemic situation?
Changing landscape, I mean, of course, so we need to move digital, and I think that's what we are doing this, right? Because it is required. I mean, for example, we were never expecting alcohol to be delivered to our doorsteps, right? But the government has finally allowed it. So similarly, like I said, crisis is actually a situation where you can figure out more opportunities that work for you. So I think it's a great place to start online right now.
Okay, Nirali, do you face any problem from clients about payment of fees?
Yes, that's why I always take payments first before I send them anything. I mean, it's never like I ask for payment without doing an introductory call and without. So first, it's always good to get information, understand what the person is doing, tell them how you will be able to help you. But you make this very clear that you have to make the payment before we send you anything that you will start doing, because otherwise it's very difficult to follow up later. And what if people run away?
Right. Just last question. There are a few more, but because of time constraint, we'll take just one more. What kind of social media content can we share?
So share something that you believe in. The content that you share will be a reflection of what you do as a professional in your practice, right? If people follow others online, you would be noticing there are some dietitians who talk about lifestyle changes. There are some dietitians who talk about how ghee is important, or there are some dietitians who talk about something else. So always put across content which is has to be scientific. It can't be any rubbish. It has to be something that you believe in as a profession, something that you do yourself. I mean, you can't ask anyone to do anything that you don't do yourself. So also it can be something which is trending, because it helps to grow your audience. Once you start putting content out there, you will also understand what works better. Like, I have realized people really want to learn to cook healthy food, which a lot of people. So when you start putting out content, you will definitely understand what works, but always put out something that talks about yourself as a person and is relatable and easy to do.
Just sorry, 2 more questions have come, so we will take and we'll stop. Do these digital platforms, for example, Practo, charge you anything for listing yourself?
So Practo, you can list yourself, but your listing is actually not visible to a lot of people on Practo until you pay them. But there are a lot of platforms which are offering free listings in COVID specifically. Like Fraternity is offering free listings currently, which they were charging for earlier. So Practo does charge. Even I think Liberate charges to list and to promote you as a professional. But there are a lot of platforms which do not. So please explore those.
Okay, now the last question. What can you do when patient does not show any result after joining your program?
So this will happen to you at some point of time that the person does not get result. So first of all, identify why the person is not getting result, because the idea is to help them, right? So if any of my patient is not getting result, we will work like 4 times more on them in order to understand what is really not working for them, so that they at least get out of the program getting some benefit out of it. Like I said, I have probably met 3 people in the last 3 years who didn't even get anything of the program, but they still didn't go out with a bad reference. Like they have still referred me to multiple others. That is just because they know that we genuinely tried to help them. So of course, figure out why it's not working. And if you can, sometimes I have also done this where I am not able to understand, and I've asked a friend, I've asked someone else that, maybe do you have a different perspective on this, maybe I'm not giving this correctly. So don't be afraid of that. You're going to make mistakes, but till you don't learn from them, it doesn't help.
Yes, thank you so much, Nirali. There are many more questions, but I think we have time limits, so we have to stop somewhere. So on behalf of Department of Foods, Nutrition and Dietetics, I take this opportunity to thank you for sharing your expertise and sharing your valuable time. And I'm sure many have got inspired and they will contact you and to find out, some more tips, and they want some more guidance. But it's really nice, very important field you have opened up for youngsters, and not only youngsters. I think people of my age also, we are also getting now tempted that we should also try this media and use, our knowledge to share with other people. So thank you very much, Nirali, once again. Now I will just have some talk with participants.
Sure.
So if you want to stop your video is also fine.
Okay.
Yeah, very good evening, dear participants. I hope you have enjoyed our first webinar series, E-Vikas, and I'm sure now you have taken a lot of food for thought, and you have maybe some more questions in mind, and which can be answered by the concerned person later on, or you can contact them later on and get some more answers. Now, I just want to make some announcements that some of you must be waiting for e-certificate. Now, this certificate you will get only after you have filled in your feedback form. Now, for today's session also, the feedback form has been sent on your chat, and so kindly fill up and send it. For earlier sessions, if you have not filled up the feedback form, you are not going to get the certificate for that. But please give us some 8 to 10 days and you will receive the certificates. As I told you right in the beginning, that we are now, though today E-Vikas webinar series has come to an end, we are coming up with another interesting series, and that is Nirmal Swasthya, a webinar series for nutritional and lifestyle empowerment. The details will be circulated very soon with you all. So please remain tuned with us, and we take this opportunity to thank you all for your patience and for your interest and your enthusiasm that is shown in attending our webinar series. We got a very good response. Daily we are getting more than 1,500 views for all our webinars, and so we are really, from bottom of our hearts, we are thankful to each one of you. And please join our upcoming webinar series also. So thank you very much.